Well, Laura, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I think this has been a long time coming because we know each other for so long. And finally, we're doing this. We're having an episode all entirely about what you do. So tell us, introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you and what do you do?
So first of all, I'm very excited too. I'm a follower of your podcast and I like it very much. So I'm Laura or Laura, both ways is fine. And I'm an expert in confidence and I mainly work helping people surviving with these little voices we have in our head, self-doubts of I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not good at that, I'm not lovable enough. Um, so yeah, my dream is really to help people to know what to do with this kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm trained and qualified as a hypnotherapist, coach, NLP, mindfulness with a particular focus on self-compassion, which really helps with all that is, perfectionism, which is not
Yeah.
very good.
Which is something we all struggle with.
Each of us.
How did it get started though? How did you kind of go on this journey and discover that, hey, this is something I'm enjoying. I want to help people and I want to make a business out of it?
So, if I go really back in time, when I was a child already, I was very interested in the mind. And I thought we can use so much more of our mind. And my biggest hero, you're going to laugh probably, when I was a child was Yoda of Star Wars. I'm a bit of a geek on that, but I really love Yoda. And, he's this very not particularly attractive character, green, old, but he's so strong. And what is strong is his mind. And with the power of his mind, he can win incredible battles with people much bigger than him. And he can move objects. And he's so grounded. And of course, all the philosophy behind Star Wars comes from Eastern philosophies. There's a lot of mindfulness into that. But that was it created a big thing in my childhood mind. Um, then I realized I had an incredible mind, like everyone else, by the way, when I gave birth to my daughter, because I practice hypnobirthing. I attended a course and I did the practices. And on the day I gave birth, I was really amazed by the power of my body, which I criticized so much earlier, like before, sorry, but also the power of the mind. So I was able to uncondition myself for all the negative stories and enjoy the moment. And that was a big thing and inspired me to become a hypnobirthing practitioner. There was some hypnosis in the training. And so I became a hypnotherapist. And then there was mindfulness. So I became a mindfulness teacher, self-compassion. And then I chose to do so also some NLP, which is very similar to hypnosis, but more on the coaching side. And so, yeah, this is me. I think I haven't ended yet, but that's the journey.
It's an amazing story. And I think, what I love about it is just based from your own experience, where you used a tool such as the hypnobirthing, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've experienced it. Other people need to experience it. And that kind of brought you and led you onto a journey with so many other things that came along. And I know from us knowing each other for a while now, so many people always spoke about how amazing you are and what you're doing. So, I've heard those kind of good things about you as well, of how good you are. But I think it's evident to not just falling into something, but discovering something that you feel is really positive and you can use it. And that kind of works and grows as you move along on this journey.
Thank you very much for this. But I think that the secret is to find the gateway to the mind. If we don't use the right gateway, we just use willpower, and sometimes that's enough. Other times it's not.
Yeah.
So finding the gateway, and then you don't end there. You use that gateway and you start training the mind as you want. You can somehow change what is not working for you. It's amazing, and it's rather simple, actually. But first, you need to want to do that.
Exactly, exactly. And I think one of the things that really creep in for a lot of us is self-doubt. And this is something that we want to talk about a little bit today in particular. From your perspective, we all have an idea of what self-doubt is. But from your perspective, how do you see it?
So, self-doubt, first of all, are very personal, very, very personal, unique. But if we want to generalize self-doubt, there are these kind of thoughts, because they are thoughts that pop in our mind and tell us, oh, don't do this. You're not good at this. You're not good enough. Others are better. You don't have what it takes. You can't do this. If you do this, you're going to ridicule yourself and you're not going to be accepted. You're not going to be loved. So all these I'm not good enough thoughts, we all have them. And as I said, with different flavors. And they stop us. They can really make us, for some people, it's like being imprisoned by them and they can't do what they want to do. And sometimes they're going to say, no, I'm going to do it anyway. But it can become a very uncomfortable experience.
Yeah.
So what self-doubts are basically are thoughts that you can't control. They are automated thoughts that pop in our awareness. And I think that the problem is that these kind of thoughts, we are used to them so much that we don't hear them anymore, but we listen to them. There's a big of a difference, right?
That is so true.
We can't hear them because we hear them all the time, but we listen to them, we follow them, and we really believe that they are true. In fact, they are called technically beliefs, limiting beliefs, but they
Yeah.
are limiting us, the thoughts that are limiting us and that we think are true facts, although they're just mental events.
Yeah. And I think for business owners in particular, this is one of those big obstacles that we all have to conquer. And I don't think we'll ever be able to conquer it, but we've got to work through it. Those self-doubts, limiting beliefs. What is the power that they have over us as business owners, do you think?
As I said, they are unique for each of us, but I think that many could relate to thoughts like, I can't really talk in public, or who am I to share my ideas? I'm not worthy of their attention. And so that can stop it, in the modern world, better than me. It's important to share. And so
Yeah.
to either you post on social media or you guest in podcast, you network, you do talk speeches, you share emails. And some people think that they can't do that. And so they stop themselves, they don't grab opportunities. And it's a shame because without that visibility, it's difficult. Sometimes can happen even when people have, there are employees and they're at a meeting. Also, they're entrepreneurs, they're at a meeting and they don't feel like they can raise their hands or they can say what they want to say. They can't ask the question, even though so many times after 2 seconds, someone else asked the same question and it was a good question.
Yeah.
So I think that these kind of thoughts can really limit the success that we can have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting that you're saying that because I actually, funny enough, listened to something this morning and it was about the law of attraction, obviously, how to use the law of attraction, which we all know. But then one of the things that it kind of said at the end, which was really interesting as well, which I know, but I felt I needed to hear it this morning. Funny how these things come your way when you just need to hear it, is taking inspired action. So the inspired action is really the thing that the universe is very fond of because we all have these limiting beliefs and things saying that you can't do this, you can't do this. But sometimes, and I call it inspired action as well, sometimes you just need to go and do something that you feel excited about. And I find a lot with business owners that we always force ourselves to do something, and this is what I call efforted action, because you have to take a lot of effort in just to order to post something. But sometimes that efforted action is the thing that is really the worst thing you can do.
Yes.
Inspired action is really the thing that is going to guide you in order to help you overcome some of those limiting beliefs and self-doubts.
I love
And
this.
that was very beautiful when I heard it this morning. And like I say, sometimes the universe just need to bring things your way. And I thought, I need to share this here because I feel we're on the path of something really beautiful.
It's really like this because when it requires too much effort, we are
Yeah.
just using our logical side of the mind.
Yes.
So you see, being a hypnotherapist, I'm very fond of helping people to understand about the two parts of the mind. We have the conscious and the subconscious, but also trying to make them understand they're both good. You are
Yeah.
the master of both of them, like you are the puppeteers of both of them. But the conscious mind, which uses willpower, it's based on logic, and
Yeah.
that's good. But if these kind of limiting thoughts are popping up, they are not controlled by the conscious mind. They live in the subconscious mind, and they are like automated programs, basically.
Yeah.
We created those programs, and no guilt should go in there because when we did it, it was we really thought it was a good thing to do. Most of the times we are so young that with that immature mind, it was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But the subconscious mind keeps regulating them in the same way. It doesn't know you're older, you have different wishes, different desires. So the language of the conscious mind is logic. The language of the subconscious mind is imagination. If we
Yeah.
use logic to get through the subconscious mind and do something about those limiting beliefs, we are not going to go anywhere. It's like the door is still closed. The gateway is to use imagination. And that's why metaphors are very good. So I created a metaphor. And it's good to be playful here, I think, and really imagine this character. And I call him, but it can be a she too, the guardian of beliefs. This guardian of beliefs is at your service, and his role is to make sure that you're not going to do anything against the beliefs you have created. And these beliefs are like layered or protections about situations you went through in your life.
Yeah.
So whenever you do something that goes against those beliefs, the guardian of belief is there, take his megaphone and says, army of self-doubting thoughts, come over. It's time to act, because she's going to do something very dangerous here. And maybe that dangerous thing is, I don't know, talking in public. And so if you force yourself and do it anyway, these thoughts are going to grow louder because the guardian thinks she's not listening. And so he sends more thoughts until we stop, because we are like, there's so much noise, like, I can't do this, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy. No. So there's resistance, procrastination, and whatever that results for each of us. So the way to deal with the guardian of beliefs is actually to say hello. That is when I say be playful. So I say, hello, thank you. So when you hear these thoughts, you want just to recognize them, like, hello, I know you. I know you're here. You don't have to scream any louder now. I recognize you. Thank you. The thank you is very important. But then you reassure the guardian saying, what I'm going to do is safe. It is my choice, because I am, and maybe you say your age, because probably the guardian thinks you're still 4 years old. And it's my choice to talk in public in this occasion. And most likely, everything will soften up already. So what we want is not going into battle or into war with the guardian, because the guardian is your best ally. Is actually to go on a treaty or a peace talk, like, hey, let's shake hands. Thank you. Let's just update the thing here.
Yeah. I love that analogy, and I think so many of us is thinking, I need to talk to my guardian.
Yes, please do.
I need to have a conversation with it. But it's a really important analogy, and what I love about it is it's so simple, like you said earlier, but at the same time, because we're human beings, we think that in order to achieve something, it must be difficult to get there. So we're complicating things for ourselves all the time. And even just by listening to you saying this analogy, I'm going, actually, it is that simple. It is just acknowledging those self beliefs, those limiting beliefs, or self doubts, limiting beliefs, and going, hey, I get it. Don't worry. This is my choice. I'm going to go through with it. Thank you very much. I love that. It is so simple. But I do think as well, it takes a little bit of practice. It's not
Mm.
something that will just happen overnight.
You know where it takes practice is that we can't hear those thoughts. And so we can't say, I hear you, hello, thank you, because we don't know they are there. We are so used to them. It's
Yeah.
like a broken record going over and over and over. And you know, that's why I'm so fond of mindfulness. And I try to combine everything because I really think that is so important to teach our brain to be present and to know what is going on inside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are not aware that actually we are battling against the limiting beliefs, and we should just change the strategy and shake hands and just say, yes, I hear you, thank you, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most difficult thing.
It is. I think it is, because one of the things you said is awareness is the first step in order to clear these self-doubt, limiting beliefs. Um, but it is also, I think a lot of people are scared to pay attention to those limiting beliefs or that inner voice that you call as well. I think because for so many of us, those kind of limiting beliefs that was set up happened, as we know, in a young age. And because there was an emotion attached to it, it solidified it, that limiting belief.
Very true. And that's why we are so used to them. They go over and over and over. And somehow there's this worth that we think we don't deserve. We're not worthy to think otherwise. Who am I to think otherwise? And so the challenge is big and the resistance is strong. And that's why I think sometimes we need help to be guided, or we can't go so deep inside ourselves to know what is the thoughts that is limiting us. But I really like what you said, Henriette. It takes courage. And that's why also learning to be present and what we are actually thinking about randomly throughout the day takes a lot of courage. So when I teach mindfulness, I often say that it's a practice to become intimate with ourselves. You need to be ready. Sometimes thoughts, we discover we had thoughts that are rather banal. Other times it's like, I really? This is what I'm thinking about? Yes, you need to go into that journey to discover.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the only way you can move forward, like you said earlier on. Again, it's hard for us to discover what those thoughts are because they are painful in most ways. But if you don't acknowledge them, you're not going to be able to move forward.
No, I think that knowing what they are and going a little bit deep, like really knowing, but this is really what I think about myself. And somehow is learning to distance ourselves. It's like we look at these thoughts like, okay, that's what this person is thinking about, but I'm here. It's not easy, but it's totally possible. And I think each of us sometimes have glimpses of that. But then the monkey mind goes back like, no, 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 you're not worthy. What are you thinking about? It was not a good inside talk. Go back to your old self. we should learn to trust our intuition, our gut feelings.
And that's another thing. Oh my gosh, I
Yes.
always say listen to your gut, listen to your sixth sense, but it is sometimes, even for me, I practice it daily, but even for me sometimes it's really hard to listen to that gut.
Yes,
Um,
I imagine.
but that is where all the answers lie, really.
You know, even for me, when I'm with my clients, I need to activate that intuition.
Yeah,
And somehow now it's normal. Like I become this intuitive person as soon as I'm with a client. But when I'm outside and I need to do it on myself, it's not that easy. So it's much easier to guide than to do it on yourself. Because
exactly.
again, you don't hear and you just listen and follow. And
Exactly.
mm.
It's like anything, what is that saying about it's so easy for us to help other people, but we can't take our own advice.
Oh,
And I think that's why, for all of us who are struggling with limiting beliefs, self-doubt, all of those things, especially, for us as business owners, because, that's just another layer added on top. That's why we need people like you to help us. And I presume you help a lot with mindfulness, but with hypnotherapy and all those kind of things as well to uncover what those layers are, those limiting beliefs, doubts. That is the first step then in order to work through it. But it's like you say, we don't know ourselves what they are, but with help, somebody can just help you, guide you through it and see
you
what
know
they
what
are.
sorry. Yes. So what I often tell my clients is, what will happen is not that you will say, "Oh, I'm different." You will not even notice simply because those crippling thoughts are not going to pop up in your mind.
Yeah.
And so you may realize that you have changed indeed after a while because things will be easy. There will be a
Yeah.
flow on things. And I experienced that personally with a fear of being in a car driven by someone else. And I did this kind of therapy and coaching. And I remember I realized I was not fearful. Only 40 minutes into a journey that was the worst journey that could have ever happened to me. And I was fine. But it didn't occur to me right away because
Yeah.
we are so used to these voices. And so when I hear back from clients saying, "Ah, yeah, it's really like this," I notice that it has worked. After a while, say, yes, that is the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's like a liberation. It's not really freedom, it's liberation. And you can finally be who you can be because we can be whoever we want. We can be successful. Simply, the belief is difficult until you change the thoughts, the self-doubting
Yeah.
thoughts inside.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I think we can have this conversation for the next couple of hours because it is so interesting. And I'm sure people are hanging on to this episode because there's a lot here that you shared with us, which is really, really powerful that we can look into and start using. But I think, in order to help us a little bit, you've got an amazing freebie for us. Tell us a little bit about the freebie.
Yeah, so I was thinking for a while what I could offer so that people can be helped. And I think that I hope what I created is going to help people to understand what is that is blocking them. What are these self-doubting thoughts that are so unique for each of us? So I created this, it's a hypnovisualization because metaphors, imagination is the gateway, and people will learn what is that is blocking them. And by doing that, they will also learn what they can do if that thought, voice, imagination that is blocking is not there anymore. And so this is what you said earlier, Henriette. They can finally imagine a future that works for them, and that can make them reach that. So that are the benefits of doing this hypnovisualization. So there's a little bit of visualization and a short exercise afterwards so that this can give the right insights of how to do that. And
Amazing.
imagining the future is very important.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
technique that everybody uses in therapy, coaching, even athletes use it, and very successfully.
Exactly. And thank you so much for making that available. So for those of you listening or watching this video, I highly suggest that you go and look and download the hypno visualization. I can't even say it. System. It's right down in my show notes. So the link is there so you can go and get it now. I'm going to go and have a look at it as well, because it's like anything. We don't know what we don't know, right? More information, the more we can start steering away from these limiting beliefs, self-doubts, the better, and the more you will start having that kind of freedom to move forward and just grow, be whoever you want to be, just like Laura said. But also you can go and connect with Laura via her website and via Instagram. Those details will be in my show notes as well. Laura, thank you so much for being here. It was so lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all these tips and knowledge. And with that said, do you have one last tip that you want to leave the audience with?
Believe what you want to believe. Be
Love it.
present.
Love
Thank you,
it.
Henriette. It was so nice to chat about this. I could chat about this for ages.
I know, maybe we need to do another episode.
Yes.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much again. Look after yourself and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.